Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Sorry, I'm a little bit discombobulated. I've just hang on, get me cans on. How are you? You well?
Well, I've had time to think because this episode's quite short, and obviously, normally I make the little montagey bits at the beginning, with put music and sound effects on it all. And yeah, I haven't had to do that this week, so I've had some time to think, Steve.
Oh, there's a dangerous thing, eh?
And I've got a question for you.
Yeah, go on.
What is this thing you call love?
Oh, what's happened?
It's the aliens. I'm being an alien.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. Oh, okay.
I was doing a bit.
Right.
Never mind. Let's try that again.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come back to you, actually, with Red Dwarf, which is don't give me the Star Trek crap. It's too early in the morning.
Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
On this episode of Audiobook Club, the aliens are coming.
Picture good? You can hear me, Tony?
Loud and clear. And cue.
I'm at the insurgents' secret mountain base with one of the leaders.
No, we are not insurgents. We are ordinary people living under an authoritarian dictatorship. Teachers, farmers, doctors forced to take up arms to fight for our freedom, for democracy.
But to do that, to achieve that, you're prepared to target government-held towns with innocent civilians, which some would say was just as bad.
How far would you go if you were in our shoes? That is the question you should be asking. Us? We will keep on fighting down to the last, because our cause is... Government forces! They found our position! Surface to air! Mike, we need to get out of here!
Just a few more shots. We're never going to get another chance as good as this.
Yeah, but I'd rather not get killed, just so you can have another award on your Mike! Are you alright?
Yeah, fine. Unlike this poor guy.
Is he dead?
But he is if we leave him. Help me get him back to the truck.
What? We're supposed to be neutral. This isn't our fight.
We're not fighting, we're... What is it? They've stopped. They've all stopped.
Mike, look up.
But the government forces wouldn't call off their attack, not without good reason.
There's a reason, all right. Look up.
What? Oh my God. What the hell is that?
Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
Hello and welcome to the 50th episode of Audiobook Club, the podcast about audiobooks that wonders what it would do if it suddenly found itself living under a totalitarian regime. But if we are going to live in a totalitarian regime, I'd like to live with no one more than my co-host, Matt Layton, in a bunker, in one room for now until eternity. In
I was
one
only
room, one small room.
What, a small room that's giant on the inside?
Exactly that, yes.
Do you see what I've done there?
Cavernous small room. I see what you did there. Yes,
You see what
very
I've done
nice.
there? It's a Doctor Who gag, mate.
What a seg. What a seg. Now, this week is very, very different because usually we talk about one particular book and we discuss the whys and wherefores and was it any good and the performance and all the rest of it. But this week we're talking about a service, aren't we, Matt?
I'm not sure it's going to be very, very different, as you've just said. I think you're lying to our audience again. It's going to be slightly different. It will still be two bumbling middle-aged men trying to talk nicely about audiobooks. But in this case, we've got a couple on the table. Both are delivered in different ways, but they're from the same company, Big Finish, who you're about to tell us about their premium audio products. As you heard from the opener, they sound like movies. They sound very up to date and modern. I thought the opening clip sounded like Clive Myrie reporting from Syria. So yeah, they've got their finger on the pulse and they make quality product. I think I used to try to make craft beer radio, something that's a little bit crafted, niche, care and love put into it. But I would refer to this to Big Finish's product as malt whiskey. It's
smooth,
smooth, high quality, best consumed by connoisseurs and not wasted on the hoi polloi. That's what I would say.
I'd say they wouldn't mind if the hoi polloi purchased their products as well. I guess it would, you don't turn down a coin, do you?
Well, I guess that's going to come up later. So I've got questions for you, Steve.
You got questions? You roll away.
As an insider on this organisation, so we got to within inches of interviewing one of the Big Finish team. They are, of course, most famous for keeping Doctor Who alive through the 1990s and the first half of the first decade of this century. But it turned out that they had all gone to Gallifrey, Steve.
Yes, they'd all gone to Gallifrey. That's right. So this weekend, as we record this, there is, I think it might be fair to say, the biggest Doctor Who convention there is, which is called Gallifrey 1, which is held in Los Angeles around this time of year. I did go to this once. I think hold on.
By the way, just because you've already you've got to remember, not everybody knows what the hell you do. I was very proud of myself for responding in the email correspondence last week. So they've all gone to Gallifrey. In fact, we were asked if we were going to Gallifrey, and I said it's not currently in the budget, either the event or the planet. But Gallifrey is the name of the planet where Doctor Who was born. Is that correct?
Oh, don't start that. Well, when I say don't start, I'm not having a go. Basically, in recent times, there has been a convention to say, yes, until probably a few years ago, everyone thought he was born, she was born on Gallifrey. However, it turns out one particular story suggested that he was from somewhere else and doesn't know where he's from. But we probably don't want to open that can of worms.
That's not the kind of answer I was looking for to gently bed our non-science fiction geek listeners, including myself. Really, I like to think into this. So Gallifrey is an important planet in the series Doctor Who, and the convention is the word I'm going to use. The event in Los Angeles, and I think I've seen the Star Trek ones in reality and parodied on the television. I think this one is it will be a convening of lots of Doctor Who fans. Do they go in costume, Steve?
Yes, it's lots of people of like minds. And by the way, if I do say the phrase "I think you'll find," then do obviously cut my microphone off and boot me off the podcast, because I don't intend to do that. But yes, and this is the biggest convention, and it's basically it's probably one of the friendliest things I've ever been to. Certainly, I did go in to answer your question. Do people dress up? I went in there feeling very underdressed because I just turned up in my just regular clothes. But people had put serious effort in. The year I went there, someone had meticulously rebuilt Davros's costume. Now, are you aware of the character Davros, Matt? He's the creator of the Daleks.
Right.
And so if he's the creator of the Daleks, and you know what a Dalek looks like, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's the sink plunger ones, yeah?
Bottom half of the Dalek. So Davros essentially is in a bath chair, and it's basically the bottom half of a Dalek. However, the convention, the main body of the convention, happened down a set of escalators. So he was really stumped. Okay. If the lifts were broken, then he'd have some trouble. But fortunately, I think it was okay.
I'm so glad that wasn't like a geek story. That was somebody in a bath chair can't get down escalators. Which reminds me, by the way, I've been trying to be very calm about all this Trump business, but the one thing that got me was when he said that after the helicopter crash at Dulles Airport in Washington, he said, and they've been employing people who can't see and people can't hear and dwarves to be air traffic controllers. And of course, I didn't immediately reflexively go for the what can't they reach the buttons thing. But as a vision impaired person myself, I have to say that that really got me. But I do approve of that joke. And as I think I've told you before, a mate of mine was a blind runner in the Paralympics. He won bronze in the 800 meters at some point many years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he said there was always aggro in the Olympic Village between the wheelchair athletes and the blind athletes. So the wheelchair athletes would do things like put chewing gum on the lift buttons. And then in revenge, the blind athletes would accidentally kick over any wheelchairs that were left in the corridor. So
That sounds horrible.
There's beef. I don't know why I went off on that. Actually, I do know why I went off on that rant. I will come back to that at the end of the podcast.
Thank goodness. Can I drag us back?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so we're talking about Big Finish. So Big Finish gives sort of a brief, sort of very potted overview of Big Finish. This is a company that was born out of an extraordinarily passionate fandom of Doctor Who. For those who might be aware of, you probably heard of Doctor Who, of course. But the TV series finished in 1989. The fans said no, we don't want it to finish, and it's just spawned the most creativity from every single medium, from video to book to comic to whatever, and including audio dramas. And Big Finish set up in they put out their first CD of Doctor Who. This is an audio drama in 1999, and they've been doing it ever since. Their back catalogue now has spawned dramas, audiobooks, actual books, all kinds of things. But Doctor Who is literally just one of their tentacles, as it were.
It's 25 years in business since they put up their shingle or whatever it is, and yeah, it's lovely to hear the warmth, love, and enthusiasm in your voice for it, Steve. But as mentioned last week, you used to hide behind the sofa when Brian Walden came on Weekend World. I more conventionally was one of the kids who hid behind the sofa when Doctor Who came on television, because it was bleeding frightening when you're 6 or 7 years old. So
excellent, good.
I have to say that means I've dipped into it. I gathered David Tennant was the 10th Doctor.
Yes.
I watched the first episode with Christopher Eccleston, and I was going, he doesn't look very happy. This isn't going to last. And indeed, it didn't. Matt Smith I could take. And then when Jodie Whittaker mansplained Rosa Parks to me, I went, I've probably had enough of this for now, and walked away again. So I enjoyed a couple of series of Doctor Who, but I'm not as knowledgeable or as passionate as you are. But I have a huge amount of respect for what Big Finish do.
Yeah, they're original dramas. They've taken essentially most of the actors and actresses who were in Doctor Who previously, and created new adventures. You can hear Tom Baker, who by the way is now 91, still being the Fourth Doctor in brand new stuff, which is fantastic. And actually, speaking of Gallifrey 1, as we record again this weekend, yesterday was being Saturday, there was an announcement from Big Finish that Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper are to reunite for the first time in 20 years. It was 20 years ago that the reboot happened, for more Big Finish adventures. So that's coming out in August. So that was a huge announcement that they're getting back together again, because they're that partnership, indeed that first series, was credited for really sort of bringing back not just Doctor Who, but actually that kind of Saturday night tea time TV drama that everyone used to sit around the TV and watch, and bringing it back again. Because when Doctor Who came back in 2005, you suddenly had Primeval on ITV about dinosaurs. You had Robin Hood come back. You had Merlin as well. So all these dramas kind of end up on a Saturday tea time when Doctor Who was off air. So it was a big deal, 20 years ago. And obviously TV's changed a lot since then. But the great thing, and this is one of the reasons I love this show, a TV show that is got the same premise but has gone on for over 60 years and relies on change. It's always current. It's always making political comment as well, and commenting on the socials around it. It's just incredible. I think this character is up there with Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood, and will always come back in some way, shape or form. When it goes away, it'll always come back. It'll always be around, I think. Yeah.
Well, listen, I think you've explained who they are very well. By the way, have I ever told you when I got to record Tom Baker, go to produce a session with Tom Baker? Have I ever told you that story?
No. What?
Right. Okay.
What?
We're gonna have to have some sort of audio production for this in future. But please, dear boy, come and sit in front of the fire with me in these two large wingback chairs, and I shall tell you stories of the war.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Basically, because I've got loads of really crappy anecdotes about people that I met in 1998. And my one about Tom Baker was we were recording basically one of those dial-in quizzes called Cluedo on the phone, and Tom Baker, of course, starred in Cluedo, the film, when they made a film out of it as the detective. So they got him in to do it. So doing the math from what you've just said, he must have been about 70 at the time. And at one point, he took off his glasses, looked through at me, and went, "Who wrote this script? Feels like a direct translation from the fucking Albanian."
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wasn't the one who wrote the script. But yeah. So he was a pleasure.
Oh, that's you know what? And this is what I hate about myself is that I would love to meet him. I would love to meet any of them, but I kind of so it's like never meet your heroes kind of thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what I'd say. I'll just be like just mulled into a big puddle basically. It's just but yeah, that does sound like Tom Baker, always with a yarn. Actually, one of the things that Big Finish have done is put out an interview celebrating his 80th birthday, which is a brilliant chat between him and Nick Briggs for a couple of hours.
Is that about the time that I interviewed Nick Briggs?
Oh, hello. Here we go. Name drop century. Yes.
Come and sit by the fire in the wingback chair, dear boy. Let me tell you stories.
Thank you. Don't get those two mixed up.
Sucks, Jerry. Yeah, no, fair enough. Nick Briggs. So when I used to run the radio station, it was in Riverside Studios, of course, where Doctor Who was first filmed. He was in the building for some sort of anniversary thing, and it was just as Peter Capaldi was about to take the reins as the Doctor. And he was in the building, and I said, "Oh, hello, you're the voice of the Daleks, aren't you?" That's about as much as I knew. And he told the story of when Peter Capaldi came up to him, and they were at the thing, and he said, "Hello, Peter, my name's Nick. You don't have to tell me who you are, Nicholas Briggs. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you." And I just sort of sat there going, "Well, I don't know who the hell he is and why he said that, but apparently it's good." I know now.
Thing, yeah.
So Nick Briggs is the one of the head honchos. He's certainly part of the creative driving force that has put Big Finish together. And again, I do keep coming across words like love and family to do these things. It sounds like that's what the convention likes. It's a ridiculous passion to have, to just go, "Oh, I'm going to make these things with love and put them on CDs."
Yeah.
And you can't help but admire what they've achieved and be slightly jealous of the sort of the community and the camaraderie around it, even if you lot do slightly scare me.
Completely. Do you know what? It's a real creative community, and you sort of listen to interviews with them and see the interviews with them, and everyone's just so lovely, just so lovely to each other, and it's certainly, I think this is born of the reason why Big Finish is so successful and it's still going, it's spreading, and they've got license to do new Doctor Who and all the rest of it, is that this thing was born out of, we will not let this TV show die. And when they brought out these CDs, they got Sylvester McCoy, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, all the companions to get together and actually keep doing it, keep telling the stories until someone notices and the right people at the BBC to bring the show back. But keep the fire burning.
You see, I'm not sure that anybody under the age of 40, we'd probably have to do the Snoopy voice again on that clip. Peter Davidson, Tom Baker.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
keep it mainstream, dude.
I know. Yes. You're I think you'll find actually. Oh no!
All right, let's do the 4-step process this week. Normally we have a 3-step process where we talk about the platform, which in this case is Big Finish. I think we've covered that already. We admire and respect them. We love their malt whisky level radio audio product. We'd like to say thank you very much to John from Big Finish for just being amazingly friendly this week and
yes, thanks, John
helpful, far above and beyond the call of duty. And we look forward, hopefully, to persuading John himself, who was a senior producer on one of the titles we're going to do today. Hopefully persuade him to come on to the show with us. So Big Finish we've done. We normally do the author next, but we're doing 2 texts written by different people this week, or 2 different productions for different reasons. So we'll review both of those I think let's go first with V, shall we, Steve? Should we do that? That is the one that I listened to.
Yeah, I'm glad we're starting off with V, actually, because when you think of Big Finish, if you know their work, you're most likely to link them to Doctor Who. But if you go onto their website, you will see, and you click on audiobooks, you will actually see the breadth of stuff they have done. And we're talking about Callan. Don't know if you remember that TV show. We've got Dark Season, which was a kids' TV show, the first thing written by Russell T Davies. They brought Kate Winslet back for that. She was a star of that as a kid. And you've got Robin Hood. There's The Prisoner. There's Star Cops. Sherlock. No, this is good stuff. Do not cut my mic.
No, excuse me. If
I wanted with Jerry Anderson. Anyway,
if I want to hire a man reading a list.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. That's what I'm here for.
You wouldn't even get that gig, mate. I love your reading, by the way. This thing involves. We'll talk about V first, and then you have suggested one of the Doctor Who productions. The interesting difference between the two of them is the price point. I think we'll come to that a little later. But let's be purist and do our stuff properly. Let's talk about the author. In this case, there is a person who wrote the book and a person who wrote the text. Sorry, it was wrote the text first, and then somebody else who helped adapt it into a modern screenplay. So the text was written by a guy called Kenny Johnson. He wrote things like The $6 Million Man, The Bionic Woman, and he wrote a series called V in the 1980s, which was really it's about Nazis. Yeah, are you getting this? It's the aliens invade. They're wearing uniforms. They have swastika-like stuff in the background. There are old people who remember the war. So he wrote all of those iconic TV shows, and he was approached by Big Finish, who said, do you want us to do your book? Do you want us to reinvigorate and reboot V for the 21st century? And he basically said, no, thank you, because his other work had been converted into films or rebooted. I think Zoe Slater ruined The Bionic Woman for him, is how I would put that. And he said, they said, no, we've been doing this for 25 years, and is there a market for that? He said. So he was pleasantly surprised. There's an interview at the end of the thing where he talks quite eloquently about how, again, more of that sort of love family stuff, where he was brought out of retirement for one last fight and enjoyed learning about how to write a play with Jonathan Morris, who he refers to as Johnny Morris, but not that Johnny Morris, who helped him. He said that he enjoyed the learning process of writing for radio. Yeah. So again, not someone we know, someone who's almost behind the scenes, and I think I've proven that I've got less to say about the author than I do. Normally, I'll gush for hours about the author, but this time I think it is more about the ensemble of Big Finish that's important. So the book is an updated version of a 1984 television miniseries called V, in which a group of initially friendly aliens come to Earth. They look like good-looking, pretty humans, and gradually it turns out that they are there for slightly more nefarious purposes, and they're actually lizards. I, weirdly, for a non-science fiction fan, remember this as a 10-year-old, and it was one of the most striking pieces of television I'd ever watched. And I understood even at that age that this was giving us a lesson about how to look out for what happens when dictatorships arrive and what it can be like. And there's the key stories are of the resistance and the journalists and the people who fight the good fight. The V of the title is spray painted red, and in this case, in the Big Finish version, it's sprayed red across a picture of Tower Bridge. The V is for victory. The fact that it's done with an aerosol is to show that the underground resistance are daubing it on the wall or spraying it with aerosol cans. So it sort of suggests a gritty graffiti type idea. The book has been brought into the 21st century. Characters have kept their names, but in some cases changed races. The wise old Jewish man in the original television series, who I remember well, and actually, there's a bit of a spoiler, Steve. But I don't think anybody's going to listen to this who hasn't seen the television. Nobody's going to pay $39.80 like I did to read this who hasn't seen the TV show. But the older gentleman who survived the Second World War in the television program survived apartheid South Africa in this version. And I just remember it's one of my first memories of what death means. Him and Arthur Brownlow in Crossroads. So those characters aren't coming back. That's it then. So the original series had an incredible effect on me. The most iconic scene from it, for those who know, and obviously you're probably about 5 years too young, Steve, is Diana, the leader of the aliens, famously tips back her head and swallows a live guinea pig whole, proving that perhaps they haven't really come here to help us. And they faithfully reproduced it in this book.
Really?
Yes, here's the clip.
Go on.
We must continue the conversion program, just to make sure. What are these rodents called again?
Guinea pigs, Commander.
Delicious. Bring me more. As I was saying.
They've done the same. They've done everything in that's important from the old series, including killing off a character and the lizards disguised as humans, eating live rodents. But there are all sorts of modern references, so we can't avoid that. This audiobook is telling us, as the original series did, to watch out for encroaching totalitarianism. But the cultural references are numerous. The modern references, I mean, there's COVID in it, there's conspiracy theories. The leader of the aliens gets interviewed on something which is very transparently the One Show. Cultural references include Mars attacks, Independence Day, when the big flying saucers hover over the city. If you want to bring up that image in your head, the actual production helps you by saying, yeah, it's a bit like Independence Day, if you were having difficulty imagining a flying saucer over a city. Mm-hmm. War of the Worlds, Star Trek, Arthur C. Clarke, all of them mentioned. The War of the Worlds thing is great. The second thing they say about the aliens is that they pose no bacterial threat. Because if we remember the War of the Worlds, I don't know if that's a hand-washing. Pete Hegseth, whatever he's called, the Secretary of Defense in the State, about Hegseth, about washing your hands. But yes, no bacterial threat is mentioned. Like you, Steve, you're no bacterial threat.
I've heard that line said to me before. Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. They have genuinely brought something that meant something to me up to date in a way that I would consider relevant, and I hope, if presented to younger people, would surprise them, and maybe word will spread, and perhaps good things will happen or bad things won't because of this. You certainly got to do something, haven't you? And I don't think it's a coincidence that this came out in the same week as Trump's inauguration. I think that's very pointed.
Yeah, yes.
So we talk about vegetables, don't we? We talk about broadcast vegetables, which we spoke about in detail on last week's show about Rob Burley's book. Go back one in the list, you'll find it there. And the whole idea that public service broadcasting is the service is that we've all grown up with, under the sort of the Reithian ethics at the BBC, where you and I both work. The whole idea is we entertain people, but with that entertainment, you sneak them a positive social message or campaign of some kind. And I think that's what this is doing. And again, Steve, you and I may fall out over this, but I would say it's doing that a damn sight better than Gladiators at 5:00 on a Saturday night on BBC.
Now, this is really interesting to me. Listening to your voice just then, and you picked up. So when I was expatiating on Big Finish and Doctor Who, you wound me on and so on. But listen to you talk about V, and listening to you talk about how they brought it back from Big Finish. Sounds like you're a fan. It sounds like Big Finish. Well, I think we both feel that Big Finish is kind of a force for good here. It's a good thing to have in your life, isn't it?
Don't tell me I'm becoming one of you.
Oh, yes, you are. You will become one of us. We're going to cap you. Actually, there's a question I've got for Big Finish, actually, funnily enough. I do hope we get someone on from Big Finish, because I've got a few questions for them.
Well, I don't think we've stuffed it up so far. I hope let's move on to the audiobook. And does the audiobook bring anything to the party? And the answer is, in this one, as you heard from the clip at the beginning and the guinea pig eating clip, the production is top notch, just fantastic. Yep. It is, as you always say, movies for your mind.
Well, this is it. I was always wondering whether Dirk Maggs, whether he's come into contact with Big Finish or if he's done anything for them, or vice versa, because they're sort of knocking about in the same cake bowl, aren't they?
Well, you get the impression that actually you there may be beef, and you may have just ruined any chance we have of getting an interview. It's like the Sharks and the Jets, mate. You don't mention them in the same sense. When you're trying to grovel to Big Finish to get them to come on your show, and you're doing that one, you don't say he whose name shall not be mentioned. Dirk Maggs, who we interviewed. Link in description. Greatest audio producer in the world.
Yeah, I don't think I created any beef there. I think you might have created some just by really just twisting that. I just wondered if they've had a chat.
I should imagine they have, but probably it's a bit like Zelensky and Putin. They're aware of each other, but they've never been in the same room. I think that's what it is. You can't
use that analogy. I literally, when Dirk Maggs was on, I mentioned Big Finish to him.
Oh, did you? Oh, no wonder he left. He did cut the call. He did cut the call. I don't think I don't think there's any beef. I don't think we're doing ourselves any favours here by creating fictional beef. Maybe we could do an audio drama about it, mate. You know, fictional beef. Music great, sound effects great.
Yeah.
The thing that Mr. Maggs said to us is, in those circles where they don't talk to each other, the high and lofty circles of malt whiskey radio production, is you don't want to. If you use a narrator, you're copping out, but you need to sneakily make your characters describe what's going on around them for context, but without making it sound forced. And they certainly do that. I found, though, that the house style, and now I've listened to more than one Big Finish production, it's quite theatre-y. Does that make sense? It's quite bouncy and projected. It's not television mumble acting.
No,
it's kind of from the diaphragm, lovey.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you're listening to. Which well, it depends what the production. I think, and the story. I think it lends itself to different cadence of voice and all the rest of it. But it is a different form. This is not. They're not making Doctor Who, or they're not making V for the TV. They're making it for audio. And with Doctor Who, there's certainly a precedent of radio versions of Doctor Who before Big Finish came along. There was a couple of Radio 4 things back in the 80s and 90s when it was just coming off air and then properly off air. So this is not Doctor Who's first rodeo, and certainly, I mean, Big Finish have been going along for 26 odd years now. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know how to bring stories. Like the writing, by the way, is fantastic. I think
there's a reason that we normally start this with the author, and that's because you and I know how important writers are, and there wouldn't be a blank page. So we value writers, and these are brilliantly written. You know what? Someone who listens to a lot of audiobooks, I am adjusting to that house style.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff you and I listen to is single voice reading. rather than multiple voices acting. The original cast of V was something like 65 people strong. So they've had to prune it a bit because, again, it's harder to get to know a character if you only have audio, even if you listen as hard as we do. So they've pruned the number of people in the cast back, but it's still huge compared to the type of thing that we mainly listen to.
You bring a great point here, because I this is another reason I'd be quite keen to talk to someone from Big Finish. Is that part of their process when they're taking much of these are TV shows that have long since gone, they're bringing them back for audio, but how do you make those changes? Not just technically, because obviously you've lost the visuals, but in terms of the storytelling and the narrative. Do you have to cut back the cast, make things more claustrophobic, if you like, with a few people in it? And actually, the one that I brought along to you, not be, but Death and the Queen. This is a Doctor Who adventure with David Tennant and Catherine Tate,
which I listened to this afternoon. So
cast of 6, I think that was it.
Yeah, it felt like a lot more.
Exactly. They make it grand. But interestingly enough, and that was just so that particular example was just 50 minutes long. But what they do, and this is what I love about Big Finish as well, and it's different to say having a version for Radio 4, where they say, they'll run the music, the famous Doctor Who music, which, by the way, depending on which Doctor is in it, if it's Tom Baker, they'll do the 70s version. If it's, David Tennant, they'll do the 2006-7 version or whatever it might be. But they don't go Doctor Who Adventure by so and so, and then they read out the cast at the end. They literally do it as though you're watching it on TV. They just play the theme into the drama, end of theme.
And this actually is bringing me on to my next point. And as I say, Kenny Johnson in the interview, when told that, can we have the rights to V to turn into an audio drama? His words were, "Is there a market for that?" And yes, it is. And they are all, like you, people who know the difference between the 1970s Doctor Who theme and the 2000s. If you played them to me back to back, I'd get it, but I wouldn't be able to pinpoint those differences now. These pros are designed for a passionate, smaller community. I think
like Mr. Matthew Layton, who loved this. Well,
I'm getting there. I admit it. I am being sucked into the church. I will come out the back and help you build the spaceship.
Please don't use that line again.
For when Nick Briggs in his blue robes persuades us to do his bidding and wait for the aliens to come. The majority of stuff we do. And of our 50 episodes, 47 of our 50 published episodes, 47 of them have been books that we have got from Audible. And that's because Audible is everywhere. It's an Amazon company. It's well-resourced. I remember back in 2012, 2013, basically Amazon went round and bought up all the rights to all the audiobooks. And, they were so desperate for people to produce audiobooks from existing titles that they got as far down the food chain as me and asked me if I could. Neil from Labyrinth Productions asked me if to do a little test for him. I wasn't good enough or quick enough to edit an audiobook. I will always say that. But the behemoth, the 47, that's 94% of books we've done have come from Audible. And the Audible app is on your phone. The Audible app is technically well-resourced. The Audible app...
Also, I'd say financially well-resourced as well. It's probably an important point, isn't it?
Absolutely. And listen, as someone who has worked for small companies before, I'm amazed at what Big Finish have achieved. But there's just a bit where you go, why don't you put them on Audible? And the answer is, as I say, $39.80. When you're working for a startup company, they always talk about you've got to remove friction. You've got to make stuff easier for people. And I think the things that provide friction for Big Finish are the fact that they are perceived as expensive, though if you bought a nice book, you would probably pay 20 quid for it. They have had problems with their fulfillment with their website, which I think you know a bit more about. Maybe we can ask them about it. And the third thing is they're not audible. They're not omnipresent. And funnily enough, the difference between the two productions that we've listened to this week, Death and the Queen and VUK, as they call it in-house, because I'm one of the gang now, is that one of them, VUK is the premium buy the audio file for $40. The other is the Death and the Queen is free to access. But when stuff is free, that means you are the product. They're clearly on Acast, who are a podcast aggregator, because I want to buy some yogurt now and change my bank account to the one that Anton Dexter suggested. I had 4 ads before I listened to Death and the Queen.
Can I give you some context though for that?
2 ads, and I would. By the way, this isn't a criticism.
No.
You got to keep the lights on first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm just saying that I'm sure there is a really complicated reason why they're just not going down the middle, and why go to Acast, which is an uncertain business model, rather than just give it to Audible, reach a wider audience, and everybody pays £7. Even you keep the new stuff, at the premium price, but they're monetizing the back catalogue using an ad-supported model. And I just wonder why don't because I'd happily, because when I'm on Audible, I'm paying for 1 credit to get the book, whereas here I'm, as I say, different currencies, different lands. Again, in itself, an impressive thing that their retail model and software works well enough to do that. Sorry, give me context. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah,
I'm ranting. I hope I don't sound negative. I'm not being negative here. I'm just saying I don't understand.
I think it's probably a knowledge gap, to be honest, which would be another reason why it'd be great to have them on. Is to sort of see.
Show them.
Well, I think there might be there could very well be a reason why they haven't done Audible, because you're right, from a consumer point of view, it becomes a streaming subscription model for any of the audio dramas you want to buy. But I wonder whether it's like when you hear stories of these hugely dominant platforms that are squeezing everybody out. They can charge what the hell they like to the producers, to be on Audible. I've tried to sell stuff on Amazon. And it's not the easiest thing to do, and there are a lot of charges, and it actually doesn't make economic sense when you're a smaller business than Audible itself.
I think that's great context. I think that's the best context you could actually give.
I do wonder, but it'd be good to sort of understand, because actually one of the things I would like to ask them it'd be brilliant if it was a streaming service. If I would happily pay £7 a month to Big Finish. And just grab whatever on a monthly basis. They would lock me in, certainly. So I wonder if that's something that they might have considered. They might have thought about it. Yeah. But the current.
But again, audio subscriptions, again, still not a premium. Do you remember when the first podcast to do that was Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
And that lasted a certain amount of time, and then people don't necessarily, because of radio, because when you turn a radio on, if you're our age, when you used to turn the radio on, and I don't do it so often anymore, the content is free at point of access. It's like a tap. You turn it on and water comes out. You turn on the radio, sound, and in this country, high quality BBC public service sound comes out of your speakers. And the perception is that, as I say, you're not paying for it at point of service. So again, that detracts. If we're Rory Sutherlanding it, then that detracts from the value, doesn't it?
Well, maybe actually, the Rory Sutherland piece might be absolutely apposite here. Maybe actually, the model that Big Finish have right now is the most economically viable for them. The way they do it now, because I understand why they do it. The podcast links that I sent you to listen to Death and the Queen was actually Colin Baker introducing, essentially, is showcasing what Big Finish dramas are, because he's talking about in his narrative, isn't he? Saying this is the sort of thing that Big Finish do. Here's part 1 of Death and the Queen. They split the story up into 2 podcasts, and put adverts in it. Of course, I mean they might not have so much control.
Can I just say that even though I'm saying the Acast thing are clearly trying to monetize the back catalogue, which sounds incredibly commercial when you say it like that, but the difference with Big Finish that I have to say I really admire about them is they didn't just whack it out there. They actually hired one of their key pieces of talent to come in, and they wrote us. It'd be so easy just to upload, but they've taken the time to write a script for Colin Baker and pay him to come in to read it. It's again, not a lot of commercial organisations would do that.
Yeah, so I offered actually one of the small crossovers, nothing like your Tom Baker or Nick Briggs stories, but a really tiny one is when we were both working in the travel news arena for the BBC. I offered some traffic news to Colin Baker, and just thinking, well, he was like my doctor when I was a kid growing up, and
everybody has one of those. Yeah.
But he just complained to me about the roadworks, which made me sort of really kind of follow up as to the lane we were swimming in. At the time.
we do really need to get the relevant piece of production where one of us is telling the other one old war stories from the BBC.
Yeah,
it sucks pipe. Wingback chair.
Yes, old travel news
stories.
A
little bit of that. Can I bring us screeching to a conclusion and do a little Jerry Springer bit?
Go.
I loved this. I thought it was brilliantly produced. I didn't realise how much I loved V, how much I remembered that. And the strange thing was, as someone who's almost exactly the right age for this, I found it to be very evocative, and the key parts in it, which were, the mouse eating, they turned out to be lizards, and the fact that one of the older characters dies in a way that's quite emotional. It really transported me there and made me remember things that I didn't know I remembered. So huge thumbs up to it. I also think an important part of this is the timing of it. And this is our 50th episode, Steve, as we've mentioned. And normally when I get to 50 episodes or something, I don't mention it because it's not important. But I've been doing a little bit of retrospective navel gazing this week. And I've realised there's a common thread, because we're much better now than we were at the beginning, I think. I think you and I have got better at this. Listeners don't care, but I think the interactions between us,
or disagree.
We're finding our voice.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happen when you add up the sum of the stuff that we've done, and in the context of listening to V, you and I have said quite often on here that we come to podcasts, our careers in radio, in broadcasting, our decision to work for the BBC, which is where we met in, at the beginning of what I consider the decline, but you disagree with me. The true nature of public service broadcasting is that you got to do something good. And one of the values that you and I both learnt from the BBC, I mean, I love the way that you are pathologically unable to swear in front of a microphone. It is fantastic. So you get trained to that, and then you get indoctrinated with the idea of impartiality and that everything has to be neutrally reported, and they tie themselves up in knots talking about so-called Islamic State and dubbing. Do you remember they used to dub Jerry Adams, or an actor replacing his voice? You can't be impartial. If it's coming from the inside of a human being, it's impossible. And I think when we look back at the stuff that you and I have been interested in, like Rory Stewart and his politics from the edge, politics over the edge, and the Andrew Marr stuff. We mentioned Andrew Marr in the course of our Rob Burley review last week. We've reviewed his books. We've played out illegally clips of him from LBC, where he is now unleashed and delighted that after 16 years of presenting the Sunday interview show on the BBC and being the political editor, he's now allowed to have an opinion. And you and I have always shied away from that. And I just think that specifically at this moment in time, with what is going on over the pond, I think you and I broadly inhabit the same echo chamber. We're more blue sky than we are Twitter. I think that's one of the conclusions we've come to. But I just think that maybe it's time we had opinions, Steve. What do you think?
Oh, I think everyone's had enough of opinion. Well, yes, no, you're quite
No,
right.
no,
You're
no.
quite, no, you're
You
quite
could
right.
be right. You could be right.
I do feel that there's too much, and we talk about fandoms, right? And this is my only bugbear. And certainly, I'm sure this goes on with other fandoms and people who are really into things. Is that it starts to turn nasty because there's where do you draw the line? And I think I agree with you. We you know you do have to have opinions, otherwise it becomes wallpaper. Audio wallpaper, and it can't become that. Conversely. And I see this a lot, certainly on YouTube with, I've seen it with Doctor Who actually, where there's this sort of, I don't know, Fox Newsification of the show, where you've got these, and unfortunately, middle-aged white guy streamers just basically just having a pop at the current show, which funnily enough, probably doesn't want them to be watching it. I would suggest, because some of it is absolutely horrendous, some of the stuff on there now, so I'm getting on a bit of a high horse here because I just think it's an awful thing to happen, and it's democracy, social media, unfortunately. And you and I were there at the start of this whole thing. It started as a journey of discovery and hugely positive, but it is a very democratic, I say democratic with a small d, medium. Is that everyone's suddenly a broadcaster? Not everyone should be a broadcaster, I'd suggest, and it just becomes a big kind of cesspit, to be honest with you. But
what I'm saying is we
as
should,
well as a force for good.
But I think we should say nice things about good things and nasty things about bad things. I think there is a bit where you watch some British people who do what we do here are focused on the American market and don't want to speak out for fear of frightening the horses, waking the bear, attracting attention, being accused of being in the blue sky echo chamber or the Twitter echo chamber, left and right. And I'm just saying, I think we should keep doing what we're doing, and I think we should continue to. I don't know. I just think let's take the mickey out of it. That's all we can do.
No one's above the law, are they? Everyone's up for.
Well, no,
everyone can have the
apparently
mickey taken.
there are people who are above the law, and this again, like I told you, 20% of my degree was a paper called "The German Historical Imagination, 1750 to 1939." It talked about Hegel and Nietzsche and Kant and all of these people, and it was basically what led the German nation to be able to get to the point they did in the 1940s. This VUK has in it. There's a thing called Friends of the Visitors, which is basically they take on board lots of apprentices, young earthling apprentices, and get them to wear a uniform. And we're at the bit. I genuinely think we're at the bit where we're watching that happen in the States, and.
Yep.
We can't do anything about it except be British and take the piss. There you go. There's my conclusion.
Well, I think that's the best thing we can possibly do. I mean, I think you're right. Things are getting pretty rough. Or we've had we've got that phrase "lessons learned." I've done a project at work. Certainly, there's been a lot of emphasis on the word lessons, not so much on the word learnt. And it feels like things are going a bit weird. So yes. So right now, my favourite podcasts are not so much the newsy ones anymore. Got to be honest with you, unless it's Private Eye or or some fun ones. Really, to be honest,
I'm heavily into Jon Stewart, who I can't recommend enough. And again, as I said last week, I'm putting a layer between me and the actual news. So I'm watching comment. I am watching Rory Stewart, Alistair Campbell. Basically, again, look, there it is. Big Finish, and Goalhanger Media, with the Rest Is series of politics, which educate you about politics, history, American politics, whatever. Or indeed, the Rest Is Entertainment statements on, inappropriate behavior from TV chefs and try and beat a drum. James O'Brien, I always think of, because I wasn't here for Brexit, when I get my little snippets of him on YouTube, he's somebody who's trying to be radically and shockingly nice and reasonable. And I think we should do that. I think we should copy that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. We need to be able to prick the pompous, I think, and just take the mickey. And actually, another reason, just to bring it back round to Big Finish again, just to finish off, as you say, because we are getting towards the end of the podcast. In more
See
ways
what you've
than
done
one
there.
here.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I think, you know what, sometimes people are just up for a little bit of escape, and that's what I love about the stuff that they do. Doctor Who, Blake said, all the other things that they do at Big Finish. People just kind of want a bit of escapism as well, because it's not a great world out there. And actually, I was listening to an interview with Russell T Davies, which again on Big Finish, you can get these interviews that Toby Haydock did with people who made Doctor Who, and he was one of them. And he said, you know what, people don't necessarily want to hear all the time that the very air you breathe will kill you, or the politics we've got at the moment. Sometimes people just need some fun, just some escapism. And certainly, if you're a kid, you don't want to be sort of exposed to all this stuff when you're 8 years old. You just want monsters and lasers and what have you, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that this is why I think the platform, the initiative, the reason why Big Finish was born is a labour of love, and it's escapism stuff. And I'd really recommend you, anyone out there who hasn't heard anything yet, to have a look at their catalogue and get some on your headphones.
I totally agree, and it's not just because I want to send John an email with a link to this as soon as it comes out. It's actually because I firmly believe that. But, Mr. Briggs, we'd love to have you on. And John, we'd love to have you on as well. I'm fascinated by what
Absolutely.
you do.
Yeah, always stories. So there you go. That's Big Finish. But we continue with episode 51. Next week we go to Cold Hard Facts and take us back to the 70s. And I don't know if you've heard, we talked about the Steve Jobs biography before, but now Bill Gates has one out too. Source Code: My Beginnings. It's narrated by Bill Gates and Will Wheaton, so I suspect Bill Gates does the foreword where he says, "Here is my book," and now here's someone else to read the rest of it. 11 hours and 42 minutes from Penguin Audio. What made you choose this one, Matt?
Because I heard somewhere on one of the comment shows watching on the YouTube that there are two. In the BBC did 2 Laura Koonsberg level interviews about it, so it's very much of the moment. And sorry, you're just typing on the screen. I can see what you're typing in front of me. But yeah, so I was a little nervous about it because we did Steve Jobs very recently. But the words you are typing in front of me say that we are going to try and diversify the voices on this podcast and the content that we listen to in the near future, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We're going to do some learning after that. So in the pipeline in the coming weeks...
Keep it singular. We don't like learnings. We'll have lessons learned, but we will not have learnings on this podcast.
Well, Jenny Draper's book, which I'm already reading, by the way. So if you're not aware of Jenny Draper, she's a YouTuber who is an amazing historian as well, with quite a huge following. But her book is about sort of kooky people from the past you've never heard of who are quite cool. So that'll be quite interesting. And Gillian Anderson's book, which is about naughty stuff, which we won't be tackling ourselves.
Is that
with each other?
Yeah, I think probably best that I take the week off that week.
We'll leave it. No. I think everyone needs to hear you. We all need to be exposed, don't we? Not obviously.
Good.
Okay. Right then. So you've been listening to our chat about Big Finish this week, where we covered V, and we also covered Death and the Queen, and we got various other titles from Big Finish. Next week is Bill Gates and Source Code. Have you read Source Code yet? Because it's only very recently out. The publisher Penguin Audio. Give us your thoughts at Audiobook Show. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky as well. There's Twitter and Facebook. Leave us your comments. #Audiobook Club as well. But let us know what you're reading right now. What are you listening to you think everyone else should be? And we will see you next week for Bill Gates and Source Code. Cheers, Matt.
Later.
Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.